This is Broken Arrow, one of the games I have recently been dumping most of my time into. And today I have decided I'll make you guys a guide on how to do long-range artillery. So, this is a scenario I prepared here, and I'll first go over the Russians. I have a wide selection of the Russian artillery because I'm using the motorized and mechanized specialization. For today's showcase, I'm going to use these MLRS, Tornadoes, and Malkas, which are basically giant howitzers. I use them in the HE configuration because that's the much better version. I'll later show a way to use some further long-range artillery as US. So we are going to attack this area I'm highlighting here. This is the typical C point on Baltisk, and this is the area that it is, in general, the hardest to attack from. That's because these high-rises here are an incredibly well defensible position. And we are only working here with a little bit of a hill with trees on it. And the enemy has a dozen buildings he can hide from and shoot at us. Hide in and shoot at us from. So, let's first demonstrate what happens if we do it how we probably would have done it in the past, before seeing this guide. You would probably do something like this. You would use some kind of vehicle that you would send forward, or some kind of infantry, to spot the enemy. And then, at that point, where you see them fire from, let's see here, you would pick your MLRS and you would fire on it. However, as you can see, this is a long-range artillery entire, and my long-range artillery barely reaches it, but it could just easily move. So what would be the much better solution here? It would be to do a trick that's fairly unintuitive for most people, and it is to blindly fire on the most optimal positions for the enemy. If we look at the battlefield from the opponent's side, you can clearly see these are very good positions to be in, even this boat here or this hill here. So let's try and fire on some of them. This is how you would do it normally. You would probably use the medium one with the point targeting mode. However, especially with these MLRSs, they fire 4 rockets each time, even on the shortest one. And the line targeting allows you to do lines like this, but it also allows you to target things like this. And be careful not to move your vehicles close. Now, as you will see, this vehicle will fire. Some of you will then go here and micro some of your infantry units, move them around or whatever. Oh look, we actually caught something. And then they might come back and will order it to resupply. Then they will micro again, you will click on your units, move closer, micro some kind of tank here, whatnot, come back, notice that this thing is fully resupplied, and then maybe place it somewhere else. And then again, send something to look forward, or pick a random building and shoot it again. Well, I will show you how to do this much more efficiently right now. And that is to use the shift orders on a unit. So what we can do here, I'll just send it on normal speed so you can see it in real time. I'll target one building. I'll then shift Q in order to go here, for example, so it immediately moves. I'll target the next building, I'll move again, in order to find the third building, since it can fire 3 times. Then I'll order it to resupply, and then I'll order it to get ready to shoot again. And then I can even do something like this. And now this thing will fully automated in a fully automated fashion move, fire 4 rockets, move, fire 4 rockets, move, fire 4 rockets, and then resupply and do it all over again. These Malkas are a little different. If you are a higher level player, you want to have these separated at all times firing. But since this is more of a guide for lower level players, we don't necessarily need that much micro here. These work differently. They fire 1, 2 or 3 rounds in these short, medium and long salvos. So what we can do here is we can... I think 2 are about as much as you can get away with. So, and each of them has 8 shots. So we will simply do this. Target 1 building, move. Target another building, move. Target another building, again, move. And target the last building, resupply, and then here. These don't need to resupply nearly as often as this thing, since they can fire 4 times with the shortest... Sorry, 8 times with the shortest salvo, but here we are using a larger salvo. And you can see, if you have been paying attention, I'm killing some units, because obviously I placed them here in advance, but I placed them in very realistic positions. Obviously, if you are fighting the US, some of these units might be a little tanky. And as you can see, the dispersion here is pretty big. Sometimes it hits even adjacent buildings. And as I mentioned, if you are a higher level player, you want to have these Malkas separated from each other, so you don't stack them on top of each other. This one is already coming to resupply. We speed this up. You can see they will desynchronize a little bit, which is annoying. Well, it's not the end of the world. Like, the desynchronization is not big enough for the enemy to really do much about it. This way, it's practically impossible for the enemy to deal with you, because they only have a split second maybe to aim at you, not even that. The reload time on this thing is shorter than the aim time on artillery. So this, by the time the enemy artillery, even if he will immediately click to target you, this will have already fired the second shot and moved before the shots impact back next to it. Even if they were quite literally inhumane and clicking immediately onto you. Now let's do this as US. The reason why I'm making this guide in the first place is because this is incredibly unintuitive. This game is not like many other games, for example like Total War or Age of Empires, where you can simply estimate what kind of unit beats what kind of other unit. So we will pick our artillery deck again. Let's try this again as USA. USA has a bit more specialized artillery pieces and requires a little more thought in using them, because their artillery pieces are not high explosive. They have some high explosive ones, but those are typically not very good. So I would generally advise against using them. So I have HIMARS and Gimlers with Prism missiles, and I have the generic MLRS with cluster missiles. To complement that, I have a bunch of F-16 CJs, which have the 4 seed missiles. So let's try, firstly, to damage these units here. So I'll use my HIMARSes with prisms, these prisms.
Moving. Roger, moving to next waypoint. Artillery, moving
Let's
out.
speed this up so we get more points faster.
Put hard on the pedal. Rocket artillery at your orders, sir. 10, Roger. We're rolling.
These have much more range.
Rocket artillery at your command, sir.
Anyway.
Rocket artillery standing by.
Okay, let's try a simple thing. Notice I have both of them selected and I selected one missile. Let's see what happens.
Direct fire on my mark.
As you can see, they both fire, and both of them got intercepted by the enemy defenses. So how do we avoid this? We call in our CJ plane,
Proceeding
which is a
flag.
anti-radiation plane.
Inbound.
Okay, I hope it doesn't get
Changing course.
shot here. Okay, it didn't. Usually the spawn for planes would be further
New
back.
heading set. Looking
We
for
hold
enemy
fire.
radars. Rocket artillery at your disposal, sir.
We do the same trick, but this time we will be
MLRS
smarter
ready.
about it. We
Send
will
fire mission.
target
Engaging
individual
targets with direct
buildings
fire. Artillery, hold your fire. At
and
your
immediately
command,
go
we
to
unleash
move.
hell, sir. Target marked, direct fire. Prepare for counter battery.
Okay. Now we have these things
MLRS
fully ready to
reporting
fire,
in.
and we have a jet
Turning to
ready to
new
fire
heading.
with SID missiles. So now we just
Viper ready. Flying the coordinates. New course set.
and if we did everything correctly, we should be able to eventually penetrate the enemy air
Rocket
defense. That's
artillery
all.
ready, sir.
It might not always work on the first try, and we gave them quite a bit
Roger, flying there.
of air defense.
New bearing set. Flight plan updated.
Sometimes you might even need two CJs at the same time.
New heading set.
And let's look at the proper use of this.
MLRS ready to fire.
Firstly, you want to click a bit more precisely than I did there.
Direct fire engagement.
You can do something like this. You can actually select 4 of these. 2, 3, 4.
Providing direct fire. Landscape designers at your command. Rocket artillery standing by. Rocket artillery
They
at your
aim very
disposal,
quickly.
sir. Direct fire engagement. Artillery on the move. Proceeding to next base of fire.
Okay. I kind of messed that up.
Rocket artillery at your orders, sir. Seed plane here. Inbound. Rocket artillery ready, sir. Fighting Falcon standing by. New bearing set.
That's really much.
Artillery relocating. Relocating to the
Finally,
next
some
emplacement.
air dying. And a lot of stuff got destroyed. Now I will show you another trick.
Departing. At your command, we unleash hell, sir. Moving. Artillery moving out. Rocket artillery
We
at your
noticed
command,
the enemy was firing from these sort of areas. What we can do,
MLRS ready. Send fire mission. We're on the move.
we can also estimate that, sure, there might have been one here, but there might be others here, here, here in these elevated areas. So we
MLRS
can
reporting in.
blind fire them. You can obviously do this also with the Russian ones. So let's try
Direct
like
fire
this.
on my mark. MLRS ready to fire. Target marked. Direct fire. Landscape designers at your command.
What will now happen? I have these on cluster. The reason I don't have these on HE is because the US cluster does the same amount of damage. It only has a little bit less blast radius than the Russian one, but it's far more accurate, has more range, and can be faster resupplied. Especially if you have it on the HIMARSs or the GIMLRs. You can see it has quite a bit of spread here because these are the inferior ones. And with this method, you can carpet bomb a really large area and hit potential supply points. You can hit vehicles with these in forests. Oh, look, we actually hit something. Probably one of the AA pieces I missed. Yeah, and this is generally how you want to use artillery. At this point, you simply repeat the procedure. The problem is if you have too few of these seaplanes, you might need to ask your friends.
Rocket artillery at your command, sir.
You need to fire the precision strikes one at a time. If you select both of them, they will simply fire one missile at each target, which is really weird because if you select them like this, it looks like you can select 4 missiles, but the third and fourth one will just get ignored. I can show you here. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Engaging targets with direct fire.
If we speed this up, first one here, second one there. Well, okay, never mind. I guess they sometimes don't ignore it.
Relocating to the next emplacement.
Before that, if you saw me there firing only once, they actually ignored the fact there was only one missile there. So yeah, in general, try and use them individually, I guess, unless you fire all the missiles at once. Keep your artillery firing at all times. Every shot you don't take is one that's not going to do any damage, it's just going to cost you income. As you can see, my income is a lot diminished right now. And as you saw here, I killed a lot of units that I never saw with my units. They were never spotted on my screen. And that is very important to remember. You don't need to know that your opponent is going to take the good positions on the map. You just fire on them anyway. So yeah, please, if you are actually interested in getting better at this game, remember these steps, so you will get to be a much better and more competent player. But of course, if you are not interested, feel free to not do this. Feel free to not tell your friends about it. It will be so much easier for me to defeat you on the battlefield. And have a nice day.